Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Exiled Cavaliers of Shadows, Love, and Lust by Carolyn Willcocks, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1. In spite of my doubts, the king has convinced me that we have need of your talents, Master Nash. Edward Hyde sits opposite me behind a gilded table piled with papers in one of the grand antechambers of the Louvre, the ancient palace of the French royal family. He is asking me to work for the exiled King Charles II, now living in Paris. The Royalist cause has need of brave men to fight for it. But I wonder if I am really what he wants. I am brave, no doubt, but I don't think he'd want me if he knew who I really am. No matter, I will put my doubts aside. King Charles is a young man forced to take on the crown after his father, King Charles I, had been executed by his own parliament. I was brought up a royalist, and I know it is my duty to work to restore him to the throne. At the moment, the court in exile is based in the drafty old palace of the Louvre. Charles's mother, Queen Henrietta Maria, is living there, as is her right as a daughter of France. Charles II and his ministers are forced through poverty to coexist with her. She isn't the easiest of mothers to live with, so I'd heard, and it is difficult trying to maintain a court in exile with no money coming in. It is bitterly cold, and every now and then Edward Hyde rubs his hands together vigorously to try to warm them. Standing in front of him, trying not to shiver, I remember what the late King Charles had said before his execution, that he wanted an extra shirt against the cold, for he did not want to seem afraid. It is 3 years since he was killed, years where I had lived my life constantly on the edge, not knowing where I should sleep or from where the next meal would come from. I can scarcely believe that I am now in private conversation with one of the exiled King Charles II's advisers. Edward Hyde is a large man, unsmiling and gruff. However, his loyalty to the king is unquestioned, who trusts him like no one else. Such a long way I have traveled from that skinny boy who had lived off his wits in London and now Paris, trying to find a cause to believe in. Since my father died in the Battle of Naseby, it has been up to me to provide for myself and my mother, who was devastated by his loss. My father was one of those who left the battlefield after the defeat, heading for Leicester, only to be slaughtered by the parliamentarians. I was not there. My mother and I were lodging nearby, but when we heard of his death, I had vowed to avenge him. My mother had begged me to leave well alone. I was only 12, and she did not want to lose me too. But I knew from then on that I had to take on the responsibilities of a man. My mother didn't like it. She thought what I decided to do was wrong, unchristian, defiling her grief, but in the 7 years following, I have worked as a page boy, a squire, and as a secretary. I've always made sure she is lodged comfortably wherever we have lived. Although times have been hard, she has never gone hungry. So now she keeps her peace and never speaks about the secret that I share with her, that no one else on earth knows. And although she would prefer I didn't get involved, she accepts my allegiance to the king and the exiled royalists, risky as it is. Edward Hyde wraps his shabby velvet coat more tightly around his protruding stomach. God's mercy, it is cold today, he remarks, his pouchy face looking gray. And there was not enough meat at dinner last night. I'm chilled to the bone. I nod sympathetically. These Paris winters are colder than London, sir, I venture. My coat is of black wool, but unlike his, it isn't lined with fur. My dinner last night in one of the inns of Paris had no meat at all, except for a couple of scraps of ham in the pottage. Times are hard. I manage on hiring myself out as a secretary, but the pay is poor. If it were not for my lucrative sideline, my mother and I would go hungry. Not that she appreciates it. I can never persuade her that partnering aristocratic ladies to court levees, dances, and masks is an honorable occupation. Paris is full of widows and unmarried girls whose fathers are dead. They need attention, a good dance partner, and an extra hand at cards. And then at the end of the night, they hand me a pouch full of livers. They know it is for my mother, and that makes them feel good about it. But a poor widow woman, completely without funds. And such an attractive son, too. They're simply being charitable, and if that means holding out a beringed hand to a dashing young man, then that's fine. I force myself to listen to Edward Hyde. I know that this might mean a well-paid job for me. The king tells me that you are popular with women, he says, pursing his lips tightly. I have heard that you have charmed Lady Mountjoy, and that you are rarely out of her company. I look at him straight in the face, holding my hat in my hands. Sir, I am no threat to Lady Mountjoy. I speak honestly. She misses her husband, and her son is fighting with the French forces. I escort her, talk to her, and amuse her. Nothing more. And yet she gives you money. That is strange, is it not? Hyde says. I hear she has sold some pearls to pay you. He fixes his eyes on my face. I am young, my beard is not yet grown, and I am afraid I am blushing. She takes an interest in my mother, sir, who also lost her husband on the battlefield, I say, blinking back a tear. I do not approve, said Hyde, but given the needs of the king, I shall ignore this liaison. It is your skill with women that has recommended you for this task. I have noticed that you have cultivated friendships with many great ladies, and that none of them speak badly of you, something that is rare in a liberty. He looks at me, a touch mystified. By God, a woman has never given me money in all my life. As for my wife, all she does is ask for more. He shakes his head, puzzled by life's unfairness, and then collects himself and continues. You know that since the late King Charles I was murdered by Parliament, we have been working to restore his son, King Charles II, to the English, Scottish, and Irish crown. Up until now, we have been forging alliances with sympathetic groups, currently living within the British Isles, Scottish Presbyterians, Irish Catholics, secret Royalist sympathizers. But I've advised against these adventures, and I have been proved right. Hyde thumps his fist on the table hard. By God, they have been shambolic. I had heard about King Charles II's attempt to work with the Scottish to regain his throne. Their noses were out of joint because the English had executed the king without their consent. So they were prepared to join with the new king to bring back the monarchy. But when the young King Charles had arrived in Scotland, the poor man had had to endure many months of serenizing, had been told to disavow the actions of his father and mother, and get rid of all his loyal Royalist advisers. Hyde is vehement in his condemnation of the Scots. And so they get him to sign the covenant, signing away his freedoms to the Scots. They make him promise to persecute the Catholics, all in return for what? A few months ruling their unruly nation, only to be pushed out by the parliamentarians and routed at Worcester? Then an undignified escape, which hardly added to his credentials as king. Hyde is scathing. And then the Irish are not much better. They, of course, want religious freedom for the Catholics, which our king no doubt promised them. He has to dance to whoever's playing the tune. Covenanters one day, Catholics the next. It's just not working, and we have nothing to show for it. He wipes his mouth with his handkerchief. So what has this to do with me, sir? I ask. I'm a good swordsman and can ride, but on my own I can't see how I can make any difference. We need to plan our course of action, Hyde says, not lurch from one ragtag army to another. How do we do this is in two ways. First, we make diplomatic efforts to ensure that the great powers of Europe are on our side. We may have to play France and Spain against each other, although we will aim for them to be united with us. Second, we must raise money to train an army of our own, centered around the king. And that, Henry Nash, is where you come in. My mother is not happy when I tell her I would be away from Paris for several months. She is still pretty, but worn out from years of struggle. For a long time, it has just been her and me. She's used to me staying away for a couple of nights, but ever since the Battle of Naseby, we have not been parted for more than a week. What is worse is that I cannot tell her where I'm going. I am sworn to secrecy. Edward Hyde has told me to say that I was joining the crew of one of Prince Rupert's privateers, a story that can hardly be said to put her mind at rest. Why? Why are you going with that pirate? She demands. He's not a pirate. He is attacking the ships of our enemies, I answer, knowing that she will not be satisfied with this. He is in port, anyway, until the end of winter. So why do you want to go join him now? I cannot understand it. My mother starts to cry. You will be found out, I know it, and then what will become of me? If something happens to you, I have nobody. Her face looks dolorous. I won't be found out, Mother, I reassure her, and nothing will happen to me. I've left you enough money to last the next year if you are careful, and I will be back long before then. I don't care about that. You shouldn't have agreed to it. I cannot ignore Edward Hyde, Mother. You know he is the king's most important advisor, and if I work well with Prince Rupert, then I might attain a position at court. You would like that, surely." She wipes her face with her apron and nods grudgingly. "Of course I would, but I do not want to lose you. You are the only child I have, and I fear for you." She would fear for me so much more if she knew the truth. Instead of being under the protection of Prince Rupert, I am going to be very much on my own. And instead of being safely on the continent, I will be operating in Oliver Cromwell's England at risk of torture and death if I am discovered. My mission is to cross the Channel to England and raise money for the Royalist cause. "We noblewomen have jewelry," Hyde tells me. "You will be targeting these women. Your task is to persuade them to relinquish their trinkets for the cause. You must ingratiate yourself into their households, charm them, must make them trust you. Use your gifts to get them to beg you to take their pearls for the king. I am to be met in England by an undercover agent who will provide a horse and contacts. But I am to keep contact with him to a few days to avoid drawing attention to myself. My story is that I am looking for employment as a secretary with one of the wealthy families who still remain in England, often without a head of the household, so many having died. I am not known by the parliamentary forces, and a young, unimportant lad like me will not be noticed. They will be looking for well-known Royalist sympathizers, hardened soldiers, men who are associated with the king. The next day I wake feeling uncomfortable. It is going to be another awkward one. I get up, wash and dress carefully in the clean linen and my black jacket and breeches. I look down at my slim, wiry frame. I am slight, but I cut a good figure. Looking into the hand mirror, I see my hair is a good length for a cavalier, dark brown and curling around my shoulders. My face is clean and scented with lavender water. I am always careful with my dress when visiting ladies. Lady Mountjoy will not be best pleased that I am leaving Paris so precipitately, but I do not want to make an enemy of her. She is far too valuable to me. I resolve to make this last day together a good one for her and tell my mother I will not be in until the next morning. I walk along the cobbled street to her lodgings, whistling to keep my spirits up. It is true that Lady Mountjoy has sold her bridal pearls to help me, and even I will acknowledge she has not yet got her money's worth. But although I will owe her that, I will repay it when I return. I am not a thief, not a mountebank whose sole aim is to exploit lonely women like Lady Mountjoy. She lives in a fine 3-story house set back a little from the street with gardens and an orchard to the back. Lord Mountjoy, seeing the way that the Civil War was going, had sent her over to Paris in 1643, together with most of his fortune. She runs a fine house with maidservants, pages, and stable hands to look after her 5 horses. I had been very glad to make her acquaintance, as she is one of the few Royalist widows who was not struggling. As I'm announced into her presence chamber, she rises. She's been sitting beside a generous fire surrounded by white puppies, their dam watching from beneath her mistress's skirts. She wears a dress of buttercup yellow silk with a collar of the finest French lace. She is plump, but not far, and her pink face is unlined. Although she is a mother of an adult son, she bears her years lightly. "Henry, how pleasant to see you. It has been 3 days now since you last visited," she pouts, looking mildly discontented. "Madam, I have been desolate these days, I swear, but I was summoned to a meeting at the Louvre, and then my mother needed my help. How I've missed you over the last 2 nights. But events prevented me from fulfilling my heart's desire." I take her soft hand, kiss it, and bow deeply. "Madam, even the touch of your hand can cheer me. Do not be cruel to me, I beg you." I look at her quizzically, trying to get her to smile. A twinkle appears in her eyes. One of the things I like about her was that she doesn't sulk and is easily cheered. "Well, well, Henry, you are forgiven. I cannot begrudge your mother time with you. If only my son were as good to his mother as you are to yours. Now, tell me, Henry, what do you make of these puppies? I have a mind to keep one, but which one? I've promised 2 of the bitches to Prince James, but that leaves 3 remaining, these 2 dogs and this bitch." She gestures at the puppies. To me, they all look much the same, little balls of white curly fluff with pink noses, but as a man, I know I am meant to be a good judge of stock, and so I pick them up one by one and examine them. I had not paid them much attention in the last weeks, but I notice that their eyes are now open, and they are crawling giddily across the floor. All seem well and lively, with bright black eyes and well-muscled little legs. I look carefully at each one, trying to find something intelligent to say. "Good nose," I venture. "She will follow the scent well." The little dog squirms and wriggles almost out of my reach. I quickly put her down. The next one is a bit bigger and less lively. He presses against my coat and starts to lick my face with his long pink tongue. His eyes gaze up at me contentedly, and I feel a rush of affection for the little dog. This one is the best, I say decisively. He is strong and healthy. See his size? He is also loyal and will be obedient. Lady Mountjoy is pleased. I've obviously done what was required of a male companion and made the decision for her. Of course, she might change her mind later when I have gone, but the pleasure of receiving paternalistic advice from a man younger than her own son remains. She looks me up and down and beams. Yes, he is the best of the litter. You are right. And he likes you. Look. Indeed, the puppy is curled up against my chest and is now snoring lightly. I stroke his curly white fur and his back arches with pleasure. So, Henry, he is yours, Lady Mountjoy announces. I had intended you to have one of Nellie's litter, and you have chosen him yourself, or should I say, he has chosen you. I panic. Madam, you were so generous, but I cannot accept your gift. Protest. Pearls are welcome, but a puppy demands time and money, neither of which I have, and my mother will kill me if I appear with a puppy. Our lodgings are far too cramped. Nonsense, Henry. Every gentleman has a dog. If you are to progress, you need a dog, and that puppy will gain you entry to the highest circles of court. Indeed, I query, looking doubtful. Indeed, she insists. My Nellie's pedigree goes back to Boy, Prince Rupert's dog, who followed the Royalist forces through the Civil War. Boy was a talisman for the Royalists. You tell them Boy was this puppy's grandsire, and they will not be able to turn you away, you'll see. But, madam, what can I do with a dog? I protest. Walk with him. Talk with him. Take him hunting. Enough. You are having a dog, Henry. You may take him home next week. I decide that I will have to leave that argument for later. For now, I will concentrate on the delicious Lady Mountjoy. It is no problem to spend time with her. She is friendly, kind, and her ample breasts are pleasant to bury my head in.